Thank you so much for joining this call. It's 10 p.m. in Karachi, where most of the part speakers are from. We're joined by, starting from Jawad Hashmi, who's the head of trading at Pakistan Stock Exchange. And Jawad, can you elaborate on your background if you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here in this panel. Well, I started my career back in '96 from a brokerage firm, and then went on for about 10 years, assuming various roles, including the regulator, and then I moved to UAE. So this topic is quite relevant for me because I've been an expat for about 13 years. I was working with one of the biggest banking group back in UAE, based in Dubai, looking after the trading side of the business. First on the commercial side, and then on the risk management side. Joined Pakistan Stock Exchange about a year and a half ago, and yeah, thoroughly excited since then, and a lot of excitement ahead, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And moving on to, we have Shamoon, who is the CIO, Vice CIO of Tundra, which is I think the only offshore Pakistan fund right now. It's a Swedish asset management company and one of the large frontier market investors in Pakistan. Shamoon, would love to have more of your background for the audience.
Hi, first of all, thank you, Ali, for having me. And I guess it's a great initiative to let people know what Pakistan is and how they can actually take some part in investing. So as far as I'm concerned, I am a fund manager and a CIO and partner at the Swedish-based asset management company, which invests in the frontier and emerging markets. Pakistan has been our core, one of the core markets for the last 10 years. We have two offices outside Stockholm, one in Karachi, Pakistan, where most of the research that we do is conducted, and the second is the Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. So we invest in roughly 15 countries, with Pakistan being one of the core markets.
Thank you, Shamoon. And moving to Sharik Saab, who's from CDC. Sharik Saab, would love to have your background as well.
Yeah, thank you, Farid. Thank you for having me today. As you told everybody that I am from CDC. I'm the head of marketing and product development at CDC. I'm with CDC for quite long now. It's now around 19 years that I am with CDC. I started off my career with the local office of Dun & Bradstreet Incorporated in Pakistan, way back in 1998. And then after a couple of years, I joined CDC in the operations department. Then I moved to the product development department, and now I'm heading the product development and the marketing department. Last 3 months or so, day in, day out, we are working on this Roshan Digital initiative with the State Bank of Pakistan, with all the 8 designated banks, with brokers. So for the last 3 months, it was quite hectic, but hopefully now things are going very good.
No, thank you for joining this call. And you and Jawad Saab are some of the people who have been involved in enabling Roshan Pakistan, and especially connecting Pakistan Stock Exchange to the digital accounts, so that overseas Pakistanis can not only easily open their bank accounts through the 7 banks which are offering these accounts, but also then open an account with brokerages and invest directly in companies which are listed on Pakistan Stock Exchange. So my name is Ali Farid Khwaja. I'm the chairman of KSB Securities. KSB is one of the oldest capital market business in Pakistan. The purpose of this call was to introduce overseas Pakistanis to understanding how can they invest in Pakistan, and also why should they invest in Pakistan. So yes, I was giving the background that I'm the chairman of KSB Securities. I live in London, but right now I'm in Karachi. And for the last 15 years, I've been a tech analyst at UBS, Berenberg. I was CFO of a fintech company which was listed on London Stock Exchange. It got acquired for $1 billion by a Canadian company called Novi, which is publicly listed on Toronto Stock Exchange. And fintech was a major desire. I thought that fintech is a big market and opportunity in Pakistan. So we launched an app called ktrade.pk, through which Pakistanis globally can invest in companies listed on Pakistan. So from my perspective, I'm really excited about digital, Roshan Digital, because I think it's a major enabler for the growth of fintech in the country. And more importantly, then I'm also overseas Pakistani. I live in London. It enables us, it connects us closely to Pakistan. And then for me, it was always a mystery that there are almost 15 million Pakistanis who live abroad. And this cohort collectively sends back around $25 billion, but which is the single largest source of inflows into the country. It's more than the total textile exports which Pakistan has. But despite of that, despite of the significance of the financial flows which are coming from overseas Pakistanis, it was not easy for them to even open a bank account. So, we talk about giving the rights of voting to overseas Pakistanis, but before Roshan Digital, that we couldn't even open a bank account easily. So I do think that this is a major milestone, and hats off to all the people who are involved, and some of them are in the call today. So State Bank and the banks and CDC and PSX. Before I go on the details of and ask the speakers who are on this call questions about how can people invest, I want to go to Shamoon and get his views on why should people invest in Pakistan and why does he invest in Pakistan, because he is based he works for, he runs an offshore fund. They invest in multiple countries, Pakistan being one of them. So Shamoon, would love to get your insights into why should anyone, especially overseas Pakistanis who do have options on investing in other countries, why should we invest in Pakistan?
I guess I would have two perspectives. One, obviously, as a fund manager, independent of the countries or where I hail from, and one is as an overseas Pakistani as well. I think Pakistan has been like what we have come up with the term in the last 10 years is a sort of a perception arbitrage. The international perception of Pakistan with the foreign investors and also overseas Pakistanis has been very negative in terms of the media news flow, the kind of flows in terms of law and order situation and everything. But in reality, what we found on the ground is much different. I do agree. Pakistan has problems, and but it's same like India, same like any other country. That's why we call it a frontier and emerging market. So any underdeveloped markets actually they normally have those kind of problems. But in terms of just if I just share the numbers for the people so that they can assess for themselves. So for example, if anyone had invested in Pakistan in the last 20 years, since 2000, they would have actually made 830% in dollar terms. While if they had invested in India, that would be 705%. S&P, if they had invested in US, that would be 248%. And if they had invested in the MSCI global index, that would be roughly 200%. So even just on the numbers, and Pakistan has sort of outperformed the last 20 years in terms of the returns that anyone can get who invests in Pakistan, whether being a foreign investor or an overseas Pakistani, whoever. And that again in dollars. It's like one of the key issue that normally we face when we go to the clients is the volatility in the rupee versus dollar parity. So I'm quoting the numbers in terms of dollars, and on annually basis, the stock market of Pakistan has returned roughly for the last I would say 20 years is roughly 18% in PKR terms, while the rupee has depreciated roughly around 5.5 to 6% annually. So even if you just want to hedge yourself in terms of dollar, still that was like roughly 12% annual return. And we don't see those kind of numbers in any part of the developed world or any part of even the emerging markets one. The real challenge with Pakistan obviously has been, so normally what we have seen, the foreign investors or overseas Pakistani, normally, first of all, they do not have information of this. It's not being told to on their media or even on the local media. The subscriptions for where the financial data is available is too expensive. No one bothers to go there. Even Pakistan didn't come up with any sort of a platform where these kind of numbers are available. So first of all, I think the issue has been that no one knew Pakistan. So overseas Pakistanis, and I'm one of them at some point in time. Uh, so it's just more like not looking at the numbers, not looking at the ground realities, but looking at the mainstream headlines. Yes, there have been problems, but I guess the numbers have been overwhelmingly very exciting and interesting and very compelling for anyone to invest. Uh, Given that fact, one issue obviously that has restricted the foreign flows to Pakistan is obviously this boom and dust cycle that we see, that after 4 years, when the new government comes up, we end up with the political instability. Then we have a current account crisis and the fiscal crisis, the energy crisis, and then we have to run to IMF. That has been one of the area where things have gone wrong in terms of the perception. Now I'm talking about the perception, why people are normally not interested. Even when they come, they try to pick those cycles, and normally no one can easily pick those cycles. No one never knows about the future. So, so we haven't seen anyone committing to Pakistan for very long. So not more than 2 years or 3 years. So with the boom and dust cycles, we have seen the foreign investors coming into Pakistan, making some good returns in 1 year, 2 year sprint, and then just go away. That has not been the case with the India and other countries like Vietnam, or for that matter. Uh, the other question that we also come up very often is, okay, returns is one aspect of it. There could be like a lot of players investing locally, that's why the returns are higher. But the underlying concept of the capital market is how the companies, they grow their profitability and their equity for the shareholders. And somehow, like using the Bloomberg data, what we have seen in the last if I take the 10-year numbers, Pakistan has basically uh, like with all the crisis and everything, the earnings this year are actually the same they were in 2014. And we all know that 2014, that was the period when the bull run in the Pakistan capital market started. Uh, and despite the fact the price earning ratio, the price multiple has come down from 11 times to 7 times. But if you just compare it with India, their earnings are actually lower than 2014. And all the numbers that I'm quoting are actually in dollars. So their numbers have their profitability, the equity, the shareholding equity that they have created for their investors back in 2014, they created less in this year and also in the coming year as expected. But their price earning multiple has actually increased from 17 times to 28 times and to 25 times for the next year. So I guess it's not the numbers that is hindering Pakistan. If you look at the numbers, I think Pakistan has, for the shareholders, the returns have been always phenomenal, despite the boom in the cycle and the issues that we have faced in the law and order situation. The third element that I want to highlight is, obviously, if you look at the last 10, 12 years, I guess Pakistan was going through the worst ever crisis of its history. Uh, any problem that you can think of was there in Pakistan. You talk about the law and order situation, it was the worst situation. You talk about the energy crisis, you talk about the political instability, you talk about the judicial crisis. Like whatever the crisis that you can actually think of was there in Pakistan. So all these numbers, despite that fact, if the companies are able to grow, companies are able to provide a shareholder a decent return and a dividend yield of 5-6%. If Pakistan can survive that period, we are in a much better situation today. We have a government which is very much focused on the reforms, um, and they are perceivably, obviously, we don't know yet, but a less in terms of more, like basically, and that's my personal opinion. You can take it or leave it. But I think they're more efficient in terms of their capital allocation. If you look at the first quarter tax collection numbers, they have surpassed their targets. It has never happened. Now they are from current account deficit. They are now in the current account surplus. Exports are growing, and even if you look at the last year numbers, they were able to increase their tax collection by 5.9%, despite the fact that we did not have the last 5 months of the fiscal year due to the COVID-19. So if that happens, if the government is taking the right policies, and Roshan Pakistan obviously is one of the initiators. So I guess they're working in the right direction. They're working on the technology. They're working on improving the efficiency and making the government more able to spend on the well-being of the people. One aspect is the construction package. If you look at all the frontier emerging markets, underdeveloped markets, I think their boom was actually due to real estate and the mortgage financing. And that was one of a challenge that it never gave in Pakistan. But I guess that has opened door for that. Similarly, if we talk about the Roshan Pakistan, I think obviously it would be a long way when we'll actually see a significant number coming through these accounts. But I guess it's a great channel for everybody to utilize, or at least start putting Pakistan on their radar and keep following what's happening there, and primarily look at the numbers.
Thank you so much. This was very insightful, and thank you for sharing those numbers. I totally agree that Pakistan has a perception problem and also lack of information problem. So I'm really grateful for Pak Launch and the Consulate General of Pakistan in LA for hosting this, because I'm sure a lot of people in this audience, maybe including myself, were not aware of those numbers, that Pakistan stock market has outperformed not just regional markets such as India's, but also the US market in dollar term, because I think most people they remember the spike, the step up which happens in exchange rate, but they don't look at it from a long-term perspective, and they're not aware of the returns which people have gotten from the stock market. Also, thank you for highlighting the numbers on profitability, because when people do hear about the stock market numbers, they doubt those numbers. So there is a big role to play on the side of enhancing information and dispelling some of the myths and perceptions which are false. And there's a big need for doing that. And so with that, I want to move to Jawad Hashmi, because Jawad is, very seamlessly moves through your area. You now work for Pakistan Stock Exchange. You are aware of some of these perception issues which people have. They're not aware of Pakistan Stock Exchange. So before I go into Roshan Pakistan, I would love if you can give us some insight into Pakistan Stock Exchange on things like, how many people invest, how many international funds invest, what's the volumes. We just want to I think it would be good for overseas Pakistanis who are on this call to understand what is the scale of the exchange which we're talking about, how many companies are listed. So the information which I think we all need.
Oh, thank you very much. Indeed, Kanif, Shamoon, shared very interesting insights. But what I picked up from his part is towards the very end. Yes, we understand. We agree that the perception arbitrage and then the perception versus reality. It's really different, and that only you realize when you hit the ground and when you get down into the numbers. But the good part is that as Shamoon said, that the direction is set now. So I think that is very important, and I would say that over the past a few months time, we were we came across enormous challenges. And I think we emerged very well out of those challenges, and that made many headlines for Pakistan in general and Pakistan Stock Exchange in particular. I mean, just imagine when we hit this pandemic situation, and everything literally came down to standstill. And the kind of measures the government has taken, both all in the fiscal, monetary, and the social side, and the support from SECP and the Ministry of Finance, we made sure that the market didn't stop for a single minute. I mean, there was no destruction. Then, okay, law and order situation, yes, but and there had been an incident in Pakistan Stock Exchange, when there was an attack and all. But what is important is that how did we respond to that situation? That actually proves our potential, our level of resilience, and alhamdulillah, those situations were handled very well, and I'm very happy that that brought a lot of image building for the country as a whole, and as I said, for the stock exchange in particular. So I think now we set the pace. The stage is set for the new initiatives, and yes, the numbers are probably not very exciting in terms of the investor base. I mean, we are one of the oldest stock exchanges in the in the region, but our investor base it doesn't have a great comparison with the overall population of the country. We all know that over 230,000 investors are registered investors. Yes, the listing pipeline has also been a little slow, but over the past 3 months, you must have seen 3 issues in the 2 have been done. One is coming up next week. So and we had introduced another SME board. We call it GEM board. That is to encourage the small and medium enterprises to get listed onto the exchange and get access to the long-term low cost capital, and with lesser compliance restrictions and stuff. And I think I would this investor base, I would connect with the what you call it, this initiative of Roshan Digital, because one of there can be several other reasons, but one of the key ones is the tedious part of onboarding an investor to invest in the stock exchange. And we are very glad that certain representations were made by the leadership to the State Bank, and they were very generous in considering those representations. And now you can, through Roshan Digital, you can invest in Pakistan stock market. So and I see it as a foundation. The foundation is laid for digital onboarding in Pakistan, inshallah. So I'm really quite hopeful, given the leadership we have both at Pakistan Stock Exchange and the SECP, and I would really commend the efforts put in by our colleagues in Central Depository Company. They took the lead and put up the setup in a very seamless way. You get onboarded, your funds flow in a very secure and seamless way, and which we certainly are going to talk about in this session. Thank you.
Absolutely. I thank you for that. And I will ask Shariq Saab on the details of how can overseas Pakistanis open the account, which banks is it working smoothly on. There are a few questions where people have said that the banks they have opened the account on, it's not easy to open a stock market account with them. So, I have a lot of specific questions, and there are some questions on the chat as well. But before that, as I said to you earlier, Jawaharlal Saab, that it's great to see the picture of Pakistan Stock Exchange. I'm sure many people, most people over here on the call might not have seen that building. And for those who are not familiar, Pakistan as Jawad Saab said, Pakistan Stock Exchange, it was previously called Karachi Stock Exchange. It's one of the oldest capital market stock exchanges in Asia. It has around 550 companies which are listed. And the good thing about the exchange is that it's very diverse. So if you look at most emerging markets, they're typically heavy on one sector. For example, it might be chemicals, or tech or oil and gas. But in Pakistan, it's very diverse. Banks, there are auto companies, consumer companies, a few technology companies. It's a very diversified exchange, and most of the blue chip companies, ranging from Nestle to Colgate to Palm Packages to Pakistan Tobacco to all the auto manufacturers, they're all listed, which means that investors can invest in it. And as Jawad Saab said, that although retail participation is very low, and one of the reasons is the point which Shamoon made earlier, that there's a lack of information. But institutional investors do invest. All the banks, all asset managers, global funds, US, because most of the audience on this call is from the US. So large asset management companies from the US like Vanguard, BlackRock, Templeton, they invest quite actively in the stock market. So again, I think a lot of the issues which Pakistan has is because of A, lack of information, and B, lack of access, which hopefully a Roshan Pakistan account will solve. So with that, moving to one of the people who made this thing possible, Sharik Saab from CDC. So Sharik Saab, would love to get your views on how does this work? How can people on this call who want to open up accounts, how can they do it? Which banks are offering it? Which banks will you recommend where it's working seamlessly? I know with Habib Bank, it's not fully digital experience. So would love to have your insights into how people can invest. And also, is it safe? How can they put money in it? How long does it take for the money to go in their accounts? Can they take the money out? Is it easy to take the money out? So those are the practical questions which I'm sure a lot of people on this call want to know. So over to you, Sharik Saab. Would love to get your insights.
Thank you thank you for providing me the opportunity to explain the process of how you can invest through a RDA or through a Roshan Digital account. First of all, let me tell you all guys that there are 8 designated banks by the State Bank of Pakistan which are eligible to open the Roshan Digital account. The 8 banks are Habib Bank, UBL, MCB, Samba, Faisal, Mizan, Bank Al Falah, and Standard Chartered Bank. So these are the 8 banks at present which are eligible to open an RDA, a Roshan Digital account. There are talks going on within State Bank that they're going to allow the other banks also pretty soon, but it depends on the readiness and the state of the IT infrastructure of the other banks, that how ready they are to offer the digital experience to overseas Pakistanis. Now, coming towards how the people having an RDA can invest in stock market. First of all, I know that since it was inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister, there were some issues with the banks who were offering this RDA. This is a great effort. This is a great step towards digitalization in Pakistan. Whenever there is a big quantum leap kind of a step, they're always followed by some teething issues. So I acknowledge, I am also reading some of the comments from many of the overseas Pakistanis that they are having problems with the banks. I completely understand it. I am not only understanding it, I am experiencing it for the last 2 to 3 weeks on a day in, day out basis, because I am, at least I am dealing with 5 major banks. So I know that their systems are not perfect, but they are making efforts. Believe me, their IT teams, their business teams are working day and night to make the system better and better. So if I want to start the journey by, if you have an RDA, if you have a Roshan Digital account, yes, there are different banks are offering different methodologies for opening the RDA. There was discussion in the initial days that why can't we just have one portal and one app of RDA through which I can open an account with any of the bank. But unfortunately, banks were not able to come on a single platform. Every bank want to have their own digital platform. So now we have 8 banks with 8 separate digital portals, 8 separate apps offering their RDA. So you have to select that wherever you want to open your RDA. So for wherever you opens your RDA, at the next step, there are number of investment options which are coming on the bank's website or on the bank's app. One of the investment avenue which is coming on the bank's portal or the bank's app is the investment in stock. So as soon as you click the button of investment in a stock, the banks ask you 3 questions. Number 1 is the bank asks you for a consent that if you want to invest in a stock market, the bank will share all the account opening details and all the account opening documents with CDC for further processing with the broker and for the opening of the custody account. The second thing banks ask through the portal is the agreement on the terms and condition of investing in the stock market. You know, investing in the stock market is a technical thing. So it's always advisable that whenever you are investing in a stock market, whether it's in Pakistan or it's anywhere in the world, you should completely understand the terms and conditions through which you are investing in that market. So the next thing is that you should read the digital terms and condition and just press the I agree button. The third thing is that the bank's portal or the bank's app will ask you a name of a broker. So for this particular session, I'll say select KASB. So you select KASB and now your job is
Great
done.
choice.
Your job is done. All these 3 things, your consent, your agreement with the terms and condition of investing in Pakistan stock market, and the name of the broker with the information of RDA and the document you have submitted to the bank for the opening of the RDA will digitally goes to CDC. Now, when we receive the information from the bank, immediately we send a welcoming email to the non-resident Pakistani. So if you are submitting all the buttons and if you are not receiving an email from CDC, it means that the system between bank and CDC is not working properly, and we haven't received the information as yet. So rest assured that as soon as we receive the information from the bank, we send you a welcoming email that we have received your request and we'll process it in next 24 hours and we'll get back to you. As soon as we receive the information from the bank, we do 3 things. Number 1, we forward the information to your respective broker. For this case, just for the simplicity purposes, let's take the example that digitally we forward the information and the docs to KASB Securities. Second thing we do is that we forward the documents and the data to the National Clearing Company of Pakistan to generate a UIN. UIN means a unique identification number. Whosoever works in Pakistani market need to have a UIN. In our market, for all individuals, the UIN is your CNIC number or your NICOP number. So we forward it to National Clearing Company to register you with your UIN. And the third thing we do is that we open a custody account with CDC. And we do all these things simultaneously. And within the next 24 hours, you receive a welcoming account opening package from CDC, mentioning your trading account, mentioning your UIN, and mentioning your custody account with CDC. Now, within 24 hours, you are ready to trade. Now, this is the account opening process. The next step is that if you want to invest, if you want to trade, let's suppose that you have selected KASB Securities. Within the 24 hours, KASB Securities people will also contact you. They'll share some information related to their portal, related to their app, more importantly, related to their commission structure. They made an agreement through an email, through some other digital means on their commission structure, and they'll forward the same commission structure to CDC also. So after you have done all these things will be completed in 24 hours. Then the next step you have to take is that you have an RDA, let's say with one of the 8 banks. Now you need to transfer the money from your RDA to CDC. CDC has opened the bank accounts with all the 8 designated banks. So all you need to do is just do an internal bank transfer, IBT. Just transfer your cash from your RDA to CDC account within that same bank. Like if you are doing it with Bank Alphala, CDC also have an account with Bank Alphala. So you just transfer fund from your RDA to your CDC account. Here I also want to mention one thing, that the investment in stock exchange can only take place from a rupee account. It cannot take place from a foreign currency account. So you need to have a rupee account in Pakistan. You can also maintain a foreign currency account also, but if you want to invest in a stock market, then you need to convert your from your dollar account to your rupee account, and then you can send money to CDC for further processing. As soon as we receive the funds from your side, we send an email to you also that we have received so much Pak rupees from your RDA, and we'll just show it to the KSB Securities or whatever the broker you have selected. We will not transfer the money to the broker. We'll just show the money to the broker. And when we are saying that we showed the money to the broker, it's completely a straight-through process system, that we are also showing the fund to the broker, but also through the broker's app or through the broker's portal, you can also see that now you have transferred, let's say 5 lakh rupees. Now you can see that the broker's app is showing that now you can trade on 5 lakh rupees. So it's complete STP, it's complete straight through processing. As soon as your money has been transferred from your Roshan Digital account to CDC account, immediately within few minutes, you can start trading, because the broker app will start showing you as the available balance of, let's say 5 lakh rupees. Let's say if you trade and you buy some good shares, let's say you buy PPL, Pakistan Petroleum Limited. In Pakistan, we follow a T+2 settlement cycle. Like if you trade on Monday, the shares will come in your account on Wednesday. So on Monday, when you make a trade on the broker's app, CDC will receive your securities on Wednesday from the seller who has sold to you. We'll receive the securities and we'll forward the cash to the clearing company for onward giving to the seller. Now, your CDC account will show that 5 lakh rupees is debited from your account, and you have received, let's say, 2,000 shares of PPL. Immediately, as soon as you have bought PPL shares, you can sell PPL shares also. The complete trading history is available on the broker's app also. The complete trading history is available on CDC app also. So you can, it's very transparent. You can track it from anywhere. Now, the most important thing is if you want to repatriate your money. You have PPL shares, you sold, as soon as you sold PPL shares on T+2, we'll receive the money from the National Clearing Company in CDC. You just give us instructions through CDC app or through CDC web portal that you want to repatriate this money. We'll transfer back the money to your Roshan Digital account, and we have an arrangement with banks that there is no prior approval is required for the repatriation of funds. We have agreed with the State Bank of Pakistan that the complete reconciliation and the complete track of the trade will be provided by CDC to the bank and to the State Bank of Pakistan. Hence, there is no requirement of any approval before taking out the money from Pakistan. Immediately, we'll transfer money to your RDA, and you can give the instruction to your bank to repatriate your money anywhere in the world. So this is a very simple, seamless process.
Thank you, Shah Saab.
And yeah, just one more thing, Fareed, as you mentioned, that it's pretty safe also, because you know your money, your securities, everything is taken care of by CDC, and CDC is a benchmark institution of Pakistan stock exchange, of Pakistan stock market. So we take guarantee that your assets are completely safe. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you so much for providing that comprehensive details on all the steps which are required. मैं summarize कर लूं for those people who joined later that there are 8 banks जिसके साथ आप रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट खुलवा सकते हैं. उन 8 बैंक्स पे जब आप अकाउंट खुलवा लेंगे तो आपके पास लिस्ट ऑफ ब्रोकर्स आएगी जिनमें आप अपना अकाउंट खुलवा सकते हैं. I think there are 7 or 9 brokers who are right now on it, and there will be more who will be joining. One of them is Khadim Ali Shah Bukhari, which is KSB, and you can choose to open an account with them. In any of those, let's say if you choose with us, then CDC will pass the details to us, and it will be all seamless from your perspective. You'll have to accept the terms and the details which Sharik Saab mentioned. But once your account is open, then you can use K-Trade app to invest. And Sharik Saab, there was a question aa raha hai logo se ke which banks are providing a better solution, and some have issues. Either the platform is not working right now, or they have not enabled stock investment so far. We have had clients who have opened up accounts at UBL and Bank Alphala, and they've opened accounts with us, and it's working quite smoothly. So those are the ones which I can recommend because I know they are working. I think some, like Samba, somebody mentioned that Samba doesn't have it. So some other banks might be having teething issues, which I'm sure they'll resolve. Sharik Saab, there's a question which has come from audience, which is the exchange rate. Because you said कि trading सिर्फ रुपये अकाउंट से हो सकती है, तो वो जो किसी का अगर डॉलर अकाउंट है, तो उसका रुपये अकाउंट में जो कन्वर्जन है, वो कौन सी एक्सचेंज रेट पे हो रही होगी?
वो अली on the day on which they make a request, उस दिन के exchange rate पे हो रही होगी, and that will be performed by the respective bank.
Great, thank you. Now moving to Jawad Saab, there's a question which has come from the audience, and I'm sure that's a question which most Pakistanis have, because that's one of the perception issues with Pakistan Stock Exchange, that people always say, oh, what about manipulation and compliance, and they think that the market is rigged. And I think it's a lack of information and a wrong perception, because I am aware that you guys have very strong compliance systems, and you have now recently moved, or you are in the process of moving to a new technology which you have purchased from Shenzhen. So would love to get your insights. Can you please tell us what are the tools which you have and on compliance? How serious is it, and how effective is your compliance team on working on that?
Thank you very much. Again, perception versus reality. That's the problem we have. Well, we have a very integrated, compliance function. हमारी जो compliance है, मतलब तीन उसके दर्जे हैं. हमारी, we ensure the compliance of our regulations for all the listed companies. अच्छा. Dissemination of information का हमारा ऐसा seamless system इस वक्त है. There is a system called PUCAR, PUCAR. It's a Unified Corporate Action and Results Announcement System. So कोई चीज जो है वो मेरे डेस्क पे नहीं आती कि इसको लगा दो, इसको छाप दो. It just, the company logs into that portal, and whatever they want to, whatever price sensitive information or the results they want to disseminate to the market, it just gets disseminated without having been seen by or even looked at by anybody in the stock exchange. So बाकी जहाँ तक compliance का है, and okay, the second level, the entity level compliance. So that is also pretty strict. There are teams who monitor each of the function to ensure कि वो अपने rules and regulations के मुताबिक काम कर रहे हैं. And जैसे आपने mention किया कि we are literally heading into a new era in Pakistan Stock Exchange, because we are replacing our कितने 21 और 3 24 साल पुराना 23 साल पुराना system. It was CATS, the Karachi Automated Trading System. We are going to replace it with a robust system from Shenzhen Stock Exchange, 4th largest exchange in the world. इसमें जो इसका एक component है, that is the surveillance system, and the other one is the trading. और surveillance system का हम already We have launched the pilot and mashallah it is working fine. तो इसमें और भी बेहतरी होने वाली है. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि everything अभी ना मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि चीजें बहुत ज्यादा खराब हैं, but ये है कि yes, tightening है, बेहतर टेक्नोलॉजी है, because technology is the way forward. तो उसके ऊपर बिल्कुल इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है, और we are thoroughly excited about the new surveillance and trading system. Hopefully it's a matter of a few months now. बाकी जहाँ तक इन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, हम इस पे तसलसल के साथ काम कर रहे हैं. माशाल्लाह आपने देखा होगा जैसे भी हालात हैं, आपने देखा ETF लॉन्च हुए, 2 ETF हमारे सक्सेसफुली काम हो रहा है उसके ऊपर. हमारे 2 और ETF इंशाल्लाह मंगल के रोज 6 अक्टूबर को they are also getting listed on Pakistan Stock Exchange. And उसके साथ साथ जो liquidity enhancement के लिए market making के ऊपर हमने we literally revamped the existing regulations. हमारे कुछ counters जो हैं वहाँ पे बहुत volume मतलब अच्छा हो रहा है, but there are certain counters which are not that liquid, one being the fixed income area, the debt market. So उसके ऊपर focus है. मार्केट मेकर्स को हम उसमें ला रहे हैं. जेम बोर्ड का मैंने इससे पहले जिक्र किया, 25% of the total export is done by the SMEs, and they contribute 40% to the GDP. So on one side we are making sure that whatever compliance functions we have, they are intact, but at the same time Ali, हमें थोड़ा सा एक facilitation के लिए कुछ इसमें relaxations भी करना पड़ती हैं, for the benefit of the businesses to come to the stock exchange. And GEM is a great example, where there are lesser compliance elements, and you can have the access to. अभी आपने पीछे देखा होगा एक सुकूक, ये जो पाकिस्तान एनर्जी सुकूक का issue था, that was a phenomenal I would say event, a remarkable event for Pakistan Stock Exchange history में पहली दफा sorry, a debt was raised through the capital market of Pakistan, and it was in the end was a win-win situation for both the ones who lent and the ones who borrowed, which was the government in this case. So mashallah इस पे काम हो रहा है, and the direction is set with the with the kind of leadership we have both at PSX and the SECP. We are really working very hard on improving things, and of course changing the perception. And in the end I would simply say that I thank you also for arranging this, because that's how people see us. And then we can tell the success stories. And I would encourage all our other brokerage firms also to step forward, invest in technology, and do such type of awareness sessions. And let's get everybody excited about I mean the way we are excited about our stock.
No, absolutely. I think there's a massive perception problem which people like you need to tell the story, and I think that story needs to be told more widely. As you said earlier, that it's quite remarkable that Pakistan Stock Exchange in this year had a terrorist attack. The trading did not stop. It had floods. Karachi had floods. The trading did not stop, and there was coronavirus, and the trading did not stop. So it's remarkable. And despite the common perception that there is a lot of insider trading and all that stuff, you have a very comprehensive surveillance team, market surveillance team, and also SECP has a division which just looks at that. And as you mentioned, that you're moving to a new technology system which you're purchasing from Shenzhen Stock Exchange, which is the 4th largest stock exchange in the world, which has a whole module on this. So it's not all Banana Republic over here. And yesterday JP Morgan was fined $1 billion for market manipulation and spoofing. So those issues are not unique to Pakistan, but I think perception is the issue which we face the most. And that's why I got Shamoon to join this panel, because I think mostly when people think about Pakistan Stock Exchange and when they think about brokers, and when the images they get is very, very different. They think that they get, they don't know that they are people who have joined the market, who are working over there, who are people like them. You know, they have, as you said, Jawad worked for 13 years in UAE, returned back. I live in London. I've worked in all the large investment banks and tech companies, and Shamoon is based in Stockholm and Karachi, and he invests in multiple countries, including Pakistan. So Shamoon, moving back to you. I'm sure that selling Pakistan to your investors is not an easy task, because I'm sure they also have this perception issue. But I suspect that in Pakistan, people are more skeptical than in hearing the data and looking at the data than people are abroad. I'm sure that, you know, when you put the data in front of people overseas, they would get it. How's your experience? Because you do talk to global LPs who have given you money to invest in many countries, including Pakistan. Do they get surprised when they see this data? You are on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay. I'll start with an example. So I visited a few years ago to one of the largest investment scams in Europe, in Sweden. And he's so famous, he's renowned as a Warren Buffett of Europe. So the first question he asked me, in Pakistan, do you still beat your women? So he had all the data. So I said, like, yeah, only on Fridays, not on the other days. But so I think this perception problem is larger than the data and the numbers itself. I think everyone know the numbers. Everyone, or like I'm talking about institutional smart investors. For overseas Pakistanis, I'm sure they wouldn't know, because there's no channel unless you have a Bloomberg terminal for $2,000 a month subscription. So I think the bigger challenge has never been selling the numbers. I guess the biggest challenge has been selling the trust on the government, trust on the regulator, and trust on the sustainability of Pakistan. I guess that is, and I was just looking at the questions, and unfortunately, there's still so much skepticism in the whole process. Some have issues, or they are skeptical of how the process will be. Some are skeptical on the government. Some are skeptical on the corruption and the compliance part of it. So I think that is a bigger challenge. And if overseas Pakistanis who still have roots to the country, if they don't trust the country or the system, how would a foreign investor who has never been to Pakistan and who's always heard about the Taliban or Osama bin Laden or the martial laws or everything? But I guess one thing that comforts me, I think the reality at the end of the day, it comes out. You can have a perception, you can be wrong and everything. You might deny it, but at some point in time, you just have to rely or basically come back to the reality. And I guess something needs to change in the country. And somehow I feel the government that we have, basically I look at the numbers. Someone mentioned I don't read the newspaper or read the propaganda in the chat. Yeah, so I'll just say, like, I have my Bloomberg terminal, and all the numbers that I quoted basically are from Bloomberg, which is a US company, and have access to 200 brokers. So it's not numbers. I obviously, if you dig down, you'll find that. Secondly, on the compliance or the corruption part, I guess recently just JP Morgan got fined for money laundering.
Yes.
It's not the first time. In 2017, they also did that. So what are we blaming Pakistan for? Pakistan is a frontier emerging country. We are not. You should not expect Pakistan to be a US or a Sweden or Scandinavia. There are risks. There will always be risks. But at the end of the day, the money will always go where they can make money. The real challenge, I guess, I would say, back in 2014 or 15, we were bringing one of the largest sovereign funds in the world. And we were expecting that they would invest at least $500 million to $1 billion at that particular time. And that because they had already invested in Vietnam, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, even, which is Sri Lanka is much smaller market than Pakistan is. And 2 days from their flight, I was flying with them. So at that time, I was in New York. So I was on vacation. I changed my trip. And 2 days before their flight, actually, the Karachi airport attack happened. And since then, it had that country has a travel advisory on Pakistan. So law and order situation, I guess that is number one challenge. The second challenge is obviously the trust on the government, the sustainability of that. But every 3 years, 4 years, you run into problems. So I guess what I can yeah. So one thing I can say, obviously, law and order situation that we have seen how that has improved. So I guess now foreigners are coming back to it. And secondly, again, the main challenge would always be how government restore its trust and make people believe that now they are going for a sustainable economic policies for next 10, 15, 20 years and not just 2-3 years.
Thank you. You're totally spot on, as you said, that it's all about trust, and it's people, global funds do invest in Pakistan, and they Pakistan has generated higher returns than most other markets, including the US. And investors who have invested and have done the work and gotten beyond the perception have generated higher return. So thank you for highlighting that. I'll just mention some of the questions. There's a question that can we choose our brokers? Yes, there are 9 or 10 which are available on that list, and I think that list of brokers who are available will increase. KASB Khadim Ali Shah Bukhari Securities is one of them. You can choose that. There's a question, is there any fintech broker? So we have a fintech app. It's like Robinhood in the US. It's called ktrade.pk. There's a question about taxation. Sharik Saab, can you answer that? There's a question that how will taxation work on these accounts? And what else? Is this going to continue even if the government changes? Yes, I think fintech and digital onboarding is something which will continue. It's a part of PSX roadmap. SECP and State Bank both want fintech to grow and digital onboarding to work, and they want to grow retail participation. For example, PSX has a great website. They have a website, DPS, where you can get all kinds of financial information, history, charts on all the companies which are listed on the stock exchange. So you should check that out. So Sharik Saab, you are on unmute. So can you comment on the taxation part, please?
Yeah, if you invest in Pakistan stock market, there are basically 2 types of taxes which are applicable to you. One is the capital gains tax, the CGT, and the other is the tax on the dividends. So as far as the dividend taxation is concerned, it's 15% for everyone who is in Pakistan and in stock market and getting a dividend from an issuing company. For a CGT purposes, there is a debate going on, and there is a recommendation sent by the stock market entities to the Federal Bureau of Revenue that for CGT, there is a 15% capital gains tax for filers, and for non-filers, there is 30% tax rate. Unfortunately, till today, we consider all the non-resident Pakistanis as non-filers. They are non-filers, but it's quite logical that they don't file anything because they don't earn anything in Pakistan. So it doesn't make any sense for them to file anything in Pakistan. So we've requested the Federal Board of Revenue, the FBR, to treat all the RDA holders or all the non-resident Pakistanis as filers. So hopefully soon we'll have the amendments from them, and then all the non-resident Pakistanis will be treated as the filers, and they'll have a 15% capital gains tax. So other than these 2 taxes, there are no other taxes as far as the trade in Pakistan Stock Exchange is concerned.
And Sharik Saab,
One more thing related to the fintech.
Is the tax collected automatically?
Yes, both of them. Both of them, the capital gain tax and the tax on the dividend, are collected automatically at source, and they'll be collected from the amount earned. and submit it to FBR. There is no need or no requirement from the overseas Pakistani to do anything. And on the fintech side, all the 10 or 11 brokers which are available, which are offering this service, they all have apps. They all have trading portals. So they are all fintech brokers. This is one of our prerequisites, that whosoever is connecting or offering service to RDA holders should have app and should have a trading portal.
Thank you. And the last question, Sharik Saab and Jawad, maybe you can both answer on that. Do you have a point of contact where people can contact if they have any issues? Is there any helpline?
But I think
yes,
CDC,
for CDC, for CDC we have a 24/5 helpline for RDA holders. It's working 24 hours, 5 days a week. The number is appearing on our website. This is www.cdcpakistan.com. We also have an email address, info@cdcpak.com. So you can email us if you have any issues. And for PSX, I think Jawad will add.
No, thank you very much. In fact, I shared two of the links on this on the chat. It's a nice question, FAQ on CDC site and the process flow about the Roshan Digital and the brokers list, etc. That's available on this link. Please do reach us anytime, info@psx.com.pk. And thanks, Ali, for mentioning the DPS portal. Please do visit that. And if you have any further suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We've crossed the 60 minutes mark. And I think my closing remarks would be that, as Shamoon highlighted, that Pakistan market is actually very attractive. It's the best market in the world in September. We have a lot to celebrate. The stock exchange has returns on that have been around 18 to 20% per annum. And it is quite well managed with people at PSX, CDC, SECP, all looking at it from a technology perspective. There's a lot to cherish. There are a lot of things which are happening on the reform side. They have launched a new exchange where young companies, especially in the tech sector, can list. So similar to NASDAQ. The issues in Pakistan are not that big, but I think there is a perception issue. But we should have faith. We should have trust. And I'm really grateful for Pak Launch and the Council General of Pakistan in LA for hosting this. And I think I would encourage people on this call and people on Pak Launch group to find more information about the good companies which are listed on the exchange, the returns which Pakistan Stock Exchange has generated. Tandra's fund, Shamoon and his colleague have published material as well on LinkedIn. His colleague Matthias publishes some very interesting statistics which I follow very keenly, and I think those kind of insights are very important. It's not really to dispel the myths and the political agendas and the political things which we hear on the news. All is not bad, and the returns are pretty good. So thank you for your time. And if you have more questions, you can contact us on ksb.com website, on our LinkedIn pages, Facebook pages. My team and I would be delighted to help you. And you can also, PSX, CDC, they all have helplines and contact people where you can reach out to. Thank you. Have a good morning in the US and good night in Karachi. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you.